Dr. Mark Jangizi here with your Science Moment. Today I'm going to talk about obesity and the rising obesity over the last many decades, since the 60s it seems. We used to have the pyramid upside down, and so we were told as children to have as many grains and breads as possible and to minimize the amount of fats and meats, and really they had things backwards. But that started to get figured out in the 90s and 2000s, and a lot of us switched to higher protein and higher fat diets, and stopped just having lots of cereals like I had growing up, feeling like these were just like forest floor samplings, which were utter healthiness and goodness, but in fact we're all piles of carbs. But it's been 25 years really since this change has occurred, but it really hasn't really hit the hearts and changed the narrative. So that certainly must be part of the story for why obesity continues to ramp up and doesn't seem to be slowing in the most recent plots I've seen. But there's another part of this is psychosocial, and we talk a lot about the kind of psychosocial issues that drive different kinds of groups, mostly COVID, but this comes up in all facets of society, and including weight gain and the kinds of diets that we have, which are highly dependent upon the kind of culture that you sit within and the kinds of memes that spread through that culture. And I'm not going to really provide an answer per se, but certainly there seems to be over time, and there's evidence, and I can't recall where the paper was, I should talk about it another time, showing that those that are involved in communities that are disproportionately obese themselves have a much greater chance of becoming obese. And of course there's multiple potential explanations for that, but one of them is just the simple one of you perceptually habituate to the sizes of the people in your community as well as the foods. But just one perceptual habituation part of that I want to talk about today is you habituate to what those body types look like, and it becomes normal. So whatever it is that you habituate to or adapt to becomes sort of the zero baseline, and you don't perceive it as one way or another. So after a while, you'll perceive the baseline skin of your community as neither dark or light, or red or green or anything. It'll just be a baseline uncoloriness. And the same thing happens for all facets. For accents, once you're used to my accent, other accents will sound, mine will be vanilla and theirs will be very strongly colored in some sense. Once you've adapted to some country accent, everything will be colored relative to it. Same thing happens for everything, including the level of obesity, or the level of fatness, or the level of thinness of your community. And now what I wanted to relate really today, because sometimes one might wonder whether folks in these communities where people are disproportionately obese really believe they're not obese, right? Really, have they really habituated to it? Can they really not see it? And I think that you should really check yourself if you believe that they fully understand how big they are, because these sorts of perceptual adaptation mechanisms govern all of us, and they can affect all of us. And so I happened to be walking one time at the beach in Ohio, like in some kind of lake beach, kind of about half an hour from Columbus, Ohio, when I used to live there. And it was one of these fake sort of man-made lakes that had a man-made beach on it. And it was, not the kind of beach that you really like, but for Ohio, this is great. That's all you got. So my wife, she's a professional athlete. She was a squash champion. She's a CrossFit coach, and she's very, very fit, but very, very feminine, but very, very fit. And she was walking maybe 20 yards ahead of me with a friend, and we were on our way to some part of the beach. I don't know if to use the restroom or get some food. I can't remember what it was. But she was far enough away that people wouldn't have recognized that I was with her. And there was a couple ladies sitting on the side, and so as they passed, and as they were out of earshot, one lady turned to the other, and they were obese, highly morbidly obese. They were small, probably 5'3" women. They're easily over 200 pounds or 250 pounds, morbidly obese. And one turns to the other and says, with all of her heart, right? She's not lying. All of her heart. Oh my God! Did you see her? Oh my God! That was so disgusting. She's going on and on about how much my wife's figure, and my wife had, a very tight little bikini on, so she could see all of her musculature and so forth. And she's not even really muscly, she's just really fit. She's got a six-pack and so forth. But in all of her heart, she truly, truly was disgusted. She wasn't jealous. This wasn't jealousy, all right? It wasn't one of these things, Jesus, like, and then trying to, oh, I wouldn't want to look like that so much. Knows. She was genuinely, truly disgusted by what she saw. Right? From her point of view, it looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like this, or anorexic victim. I don't know exactly what, but she thought it was truly disgusting. Right? These people in communities where you adapt to a certain kind of a thing that you believe is good, and having a baseline weight level is typically good. You don't want to be too much lighter than that, too much heavier than that. That's no longer normal within this. This is a small kind of moral contagion, generally speaking. It's not a huge thing, but it nevertheless drives what you think is normal and what you think is not normal, and what you think is gross and what you think is not gross. Right? And so this really changed my mind. It's like, you realize these people have grown up in communities where everybody's 150% the size that they would organically be out in nature, so to speak, and that's just normal for them. Right? I still sometimes find it hard to believe, because they're still seeing magazines and TV where there's models everywhere, but nevertheless, I think overwhelmingly what they're seeing is the people in their own communities, and that seems to set the baseline more than all of the media and all of the examples within media that they see. So that was your science moment. If you're interested in visual perception and the power of visual perception and the superpowers that we have by virtue of visual perception, check out my earlier book, Vision Revolution, which is on half a dozen or more discoveries of mine in the visual domain, some of which I've talked about here, some of which I haven't. Maybe I'll talk about in the future. It's a bestseller and translated into almost a dozen languages worldwide. You will enjoy it, I promise.